Welcome to Hail Varsity Radio, the voice of Husker Nation. Insight, opinion, expertise, with the biggest and best names talking Nebraska across the state. Join the show on Twitter at Hail Varsity and at Schmidt_radio. Call in at 402-466-ESPN or 1-800-825-5865. Here's Chris Schmidt.
Welcome to it. Great to be with you on a Tuesday. It's Hail Varsity Radio, presented by Currency for all your equipment financing needs. Go Currency. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel. Hope you're doing all right. Hope you're getting your fill of football with all the class championships down at Memorial Stadium. And, man, what a Class A finale last night. We'll spend time on it. Mitch Sherman going to join us from the Athletics, some Husker football, some local area talent to talk about as well when it comes to the showcase that was Westside and Gretna. So Mitch with us this hour. Next hour, we'll talk a little basketball, Nebraska and Creighton with Andy Markowski and Jacob Padilla. And Jacob, of course, also on the scene for high school football as well with Hail Varsity. And then Quinton Newsome, a sit down with Quinton. We'll talk Nebraska-Iowa with him. And talk some Thanksgiving Day yays and nays for Quinton. Can get in with us today here on Hail Varsity Radio. Numbers to dial up at 466-3776, 466-3776, 800-825-5865, where you hear us across the Hail Varsity Radio Network. You can email the show, Chris at hailvarsity.com, and you're welcome to watch us, stream us, all that good stuff on a couple of different Twitter outlets. At Hail Varsity Radio, at HVarsity Radio is the Twitter handle for that, at ESPN Lincoln on Twitter, and then Facebook. We're streaming on Facebook with ESPN Lincoln's Facebook page, so watch the show there, can dial up, can email, all that good stuff. Well, here's how the finish sounded last night. This was Nebraska Public Media, the great Larry Putney with the winner, the call, and man, what a shootout it was at Memorial Stadium.
No field goal kicker has ever had 5 field goals in a game. This one from 45 yards out. Tristan Alvano to win it. Alvano got it. Wow! What a finish! Alvano wins it for Westside.
He bleeping drilled it, and he drilled it 5 times over. And Mickey Joseph on the horn with him this morning around 5 a.m. with an offer. Alvano got a Husker offer. Of course, Iowa and Iowa State been on him. And that's a bit of a theme today is in-state talent, in-state prospects, in-state going elsewhere. Because it's been that way. The gates to Nebraska have been open for a while because of all the film that's accessible, that's available, and you have in-state talent from all regions of the border that are going and have gone. Not all, but some have gone elsewhere. Typically, it's been an Iowa coup, right? But you have Zane Flores that's headed to Oklahoma State. I don't know how many texts or calls I got from some of the football dads that have kids playing around town the last 24 hours, watching last night or reflecting today, and it's the same thing. Why the hell's the Gretna kid not going to Lincoln? And like, well, that's a very good question. Here's my thought. Misevaluation with the last staff, a misevaluation with this staff, not named Mickey. Okay? And there you go. Now, is the door shut and locked on Flores if you're Nebraska? Depends who comes in. I'm pretty confident that Mickey reached out once he assumed power to Flores at Gretna. Mickey gets it. You want proof of that? Here's Mickey Joseph from his press conference today, not specifically talking about kids and recruiting violations.
Yes, I was just going to go there. You can't talk about the kids individually.
No, but
and he sidestepped the violation by not offering Alvano last night too. I tweeted that last night. If he would have offered Alvano last night, recruiting violation. He waited until, as you said, like 6 a.m. this morning. First thing.
Right, first thing. You wait. But Mickey did answer the question about, all right, what's the next staff got to do, whether it's you or somebody else, when it comes to in-state recruiting. And let me say this, and I know we're big Steve Warren guys. We're big Warren Academy guys, okay? But Steve's had so many dudes that he's trained and that his staff have trained, and they've got the right dudes there. That this isn't a paid advertisement. I'm looking at the kids that have gone and done extra, right? They've done the extra, and they've done the extra since junior high age because they love the sport. And it's no coincidence that a number of the kids that do the extra, and it happens to be with Steve Warren, they go play ball at Power 5 schools. Unsolicited. If Junior didn't have 2 left feet, I'd ship him on a bus to Steve Warren. Make a football player out of him.
I mean, even Alvano last night, he's going off to the Coles kicking camps every single year, making it better for himself. And that's not easy for a kicker. It's not like there's many kicking camps around. You got to travel around and go get yourself seen.
That's the camp you go to.
And the result is, I mean, you get a guy like Chris Brown, Husker legend. He hopped on Twitter last night and said, whoever offers Tristan Alvano a scholarship, who we now know to be Nebraska, will be getting the best high school kicker in the country. That's from Chris Brown, Husker legend, NFL legend.
I mean, two decades in the NFL, great kicker here in Lincoln. Never came down to a buzzer beater for him during his time here because they were up by 40. But he hit some pressure kicks. We all think of Alex Henry, right? And while it wasn't a 59-yard bomb, you've got to kick a 45-yarder. And granted, the conditions were good, but, brother, that stage is nuts. Think about your heart rate. Cool as a cucumber 5 times over. Think about that. I mean, in a ball game that's 43-41, where you're up by double digits, and then Gretna comes storming back to take the lead. And then you get the ball one last time, and we can't not mention Anthony Rizak because he kicked butt and took names last night as well. Westside's quarterback was fantastic, 337 yards throwing, 83 on the ground.
And come on, give some credit to the Westside offensive line as well. They were opening up holes all night.
Yes, they were. Well, both teams were just spectacular offensively, and that's not a knock defensively. It's just how good the offenses were. Caleb Benning, man, good for that kid. Coming back from injury, jacked his collarbone, made it back for the state championship game, had 100 yards receiving, which was big, but also the 2 interceptions he had. Both those turnovers turned into 10 points. You and I can even do that math. Take 10 away from 43, you lose. Okay? Simple as that. But I got off topic here for a second. Mickey Joseph on in-state talent.
I think when you look at the kid and you know he's a no-brainer, don't dance around it and pull the trigger on it and keep him here and make sure that you keep all the good players here in the state of Nebraska.
Thank you. Easier said than done. Easier said than done. Well, in today's era because of technology, where Gundy and the mullet can come in and get Zane. Totally get it. But you have other area kids. Cole Payton is doing good things. Max Duggan finally got dusted off at TCU. Council Bluffs kid.
Got Walters from East last year.
Yeah, and I know he's doing well at North Alabama, but I loved watching Walters play. I mean, you've had some good quarterbacks, but that's just been the response today. Wow, thank you for a great ball game in 2022 in Memorial Stadium.
It's one I'll never forget.
2, you have these 2 heavyweights that kept going at it. 3, from a Lincoln perspective, you had Southeast and Southwest leading both of these teams in the earlier rounds of the playoffs and just couldn't hang on.
Gretna had to make a stand inside their own 10 against Southeast. That was a damn good game. And then you covered the Southwest game, did you not?
I did not. Motzi had that one.
Okay.
Motzi had that one, but you had Southwest that was, I think, leading at half. What a great ball game by Southwest to go on the road. and have the lead there, but just too much Westside, too much Gretna.
And that
they met again.
Speaks to the greatness of these teams, like in the greatness of the athletes. You listed off some of the key contributors last night, from Rezak to Benning for Westside, and let's not forget Alvano. And that was one of the most impressive performances I've seen in a state title game, regardless of position. I know he's at the kicker position, but holy cow, let's not forget the fact that goalposts at Memorial Stadium are skinnier than the high school fields around the state. They're using college uprights, and he drilled those things 5 for 5, made it look routine. Like, whenever you're in a high-pressure moment like that at the end of the game, you have to turn back to what your habits are, what your routines are, and he drilled that thing right down the middle, had 10 yards to spare. That thing was 8 rows up in Memorial Stadium. He hit one from 50, which also had another 10 yards to spare. The dude was drilling them. That was the most impressive performance I have seen in a long time from a high schooler, and kind of reinforces that Nebraska has been that pipeline for kickers to the NFL. When you look back at recent history, from Chris Brown to Alex Henry to Brett Maher to Greg the Leg Zerline. Like, look at all these Nebraska kids that have gone on and made a killing as an NFL career as a kicker. And then you look at Alvano, and he just looks like the next in line to be doing that. That kid is phenomenal.
Well,
but then on the other side, what a phenomenal game from Zane Flores. I know he had the 2 picks, but at some point whenever you're airing it out, I guess 3 picks, because he had that one second to last drive of the game, or third to last drive of the game, which ended up being more of an arm punt. But I digress. Whenever you're airing the ball out that much in a state title game and you're playing from behind, you're pressing a little bit, that's a little bit expected, especially with the great athletes that Westside had. But he still put together a phenomenal performance, and what jumps off the page about him is just that natural arm talent. They're not always on the money, but he makes it look effortless to throw the ball 50 yards.
He's a big-time player. So, the theme is keeping kids home, and Mickey gets it. Mickey was able to get the Malachi Coleman commitment. You've got Goldman also from Gretna, but we'll talk to Mitch Sherman about Flores, the Gretna program, and also Nebraska-Iowa, but that's on our minds today with the riches of talent for Class A. And let's not forget, B's been a great level of high school football in the state for a long time. You're going to get a really good B final again tonight.
Oh, looking forward to it.
So that's big. And then even, C1, and you go down the list, 6-man, 8-man. I mean, that stuff is great football, wonderful coaches, incredible families and kids. So great showcase here last night and tonight at Memorial Stadium. Who's with us?
One of our favorites. I got my finger hovering over our delay dump button. It's F-Bomb Brian.
F-Bomb Brian returns. F-Bomb Brian, how are you?
Are you censoring me?
We're censoring everybody.
We're prepared to. Not yet, but we're prepared to.
I get it. I understand. Anyway.
It's not you. Blame a former Nebraska offensive lineman, but I digress.
Well, I wish we could get a coach that would bring back that mentality of our former offensive lineman.
Okay.
I honestly think that we need to pray to the football gods and maybe sacrifice the Hawkeye mascot. And let's copy what everybody else in the West seems to be doing. Let's play Big Ten football. Yeah, it's great. Well, let's do the spread. No, that doesn't work, dude, in the Big Ten, especially in November, obviously. So let's stop playing games and let's play the games.
So run the football, stop the run.
Run the damn ball.
There we go. There's a T-shirt. F-Bomb Brian, you have a good Thanksgiving, brother.
Hey, you too. And turkey is trash. Let's go prime rib or brisket. I'm so tired of it. Yes, no matter how you make it, yes, the first serving is great. It's juicy. It's delicious. And then it sucks.
See, the turkey, I always go turkey breast, and it's smoke injected. So
yes.
It's phenomenal. But I get you. We did prime rib and short ribs 2 Thanksgivings ago.
Yeah, this year we're doing brisket, and then Christmas I'm going to smoke a prime rib.
Do it. So. That's the way to go. Hey, there's the audible from the turkey is alive and well, Brian.
Yes, sir. All right, we'll talk to you later. I didn't drop any F-bombs, right?
You didn't, and we're going to hang up and say goodbye.
It's a low bar, Brian.
Take care, brother. See ya. There he is, F-Bomb Brian.
And what I'll say to his point about
turkey.
Turkey.
Earned that nickname.
I was not here, so maybe we'll talk. Maybe we'll talk during the break.
5 years ago, he earned that nickname.
We'll talk during the break. But what I'll say about the turkey, to his point about the turkey, I know we're encroaching upon Thanksgiving. Just don't touch the white meat on Thanksgiving Day. Cook yourself up a whole bird. Stick to the dark meat on Thanksgiving Day. Throw that white meat in the fridge. I know, stick with me. You're going to say, well, it's dry, it's gross. Wrong. Put it on sandwiches. You put it on sandwiches, and you can use it like a deli meat. Cut it thin, stack it up with a little mayo, a little mustard on a sandwich, and it is phenomenal because it stays edible while cold. Once you heat it up, it's going to dry out, and it's going to turn into the Sahara Desert.
Sure.
Keep it cold out of the fridge after Thanksgiving. Put it on sandwiches. Thank me later. It's the best way to do turkey.
You got to go bone-in ham, too.
No.
Yeah, bone-in ham's fantastic.
Well, I'm not a huge fan of the hams for both Christmas and Thanksgiving. I think ham is very overrated.
Dude, you haven't had the right ham.
It's possible. I'll stick with the turkey on Thanksgiving and give me a prime rib on Christmas.
The secret is smoking it.
The turkey?
Yes.
100%. 100%.
Throw it on your Traeger, throw it on your egg, throw it on whatever you like to smoke, and you go that way. The best way to do it is to invite your brother-in-law, Uncle Andy, over, have him bring his bottle of Crown, and you let that thing just smoke for about 8 hours.
Yeah, I'll let my dad handle the
You get
smoked
smoked,
turkey.
the turkey gets smoked.
That's a good way to put it. Wow. My dad's going to smoke up a phenomenal turkey on Thanksgiving. I am confident in that. I'm still trying to figure out what side dish I'm going to bring along with me. The mac and cheese is a great option. But, like, what else? I don't think anyone's bringing a green bean casserole. I might have to make a green bean casserole.
See, people are out on green bean casserole. It's the best side there is. It's better than potatoes. It's better than funeral potatoes. It's better than...
What about stuffing?
Yeah, it's absolutely better than stuffing. Maybe I haven't had the right stuffing.
I like stuffing and potatoes on Thanksgiving.
Mitch Sherman will settle this turkey debate and dive into some local recruiting. Hail Varsity continues, presented by Currency.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Back with you, it's Hail Varsity, presented by Currency. Schmidt and Elijah Herbel. And we'll hear from Quinton Newsome, our sit-down with him in a little more than an hour. We say hi to Mitch Sherman from The Athletic at Mitch Sherman on Twitter. Mitch, we'll get into some Thanksgiving food takes in a moment. I want to focus in on the A final last night. Your reaction to a classic between Westside and Gretna.
Yeah, it was a great game, first of all. Just a, knock them down, drag them out, incredible football game, and to have it on that stage. I thought I saw, and I probably did, still see the best game of the year in person when Gretna played Bellevue West the first time, and the Dragons came back from 4 scores down with 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter and won that game in regulation. But last night, with everything that was at stake and an increased level of competition on the opposite side of the field for Gretna, I think the fact that Zane Flores and his team were in that game and ahead in the final seconds was even more impressive to do that at Memorial Stadium with the state championship on the line than what they pulled off a few weeks ago at home against Bellevue West. And this time they fell short because Westside is a more well-rounded team. And Westside had a special teams edge that was dominant in that game. Westside won the turnover battle 3-0. You put those two things together, and you'd have thought that was a 20-point game. Time of possession was like 30-17 in favor of Westside. So the fact that it was a 1-point game with Gretna up in the final seconds is a testament to Zane Flores and those guys around him who are a bunch of overachievers. Mason Goldman, who has a Nebraska offer, is maybe not an overachiever. He's a high-talent guy. But Zane and Mason really carried that team through the year. Obviously I'm here in Gretna and know those guys and their families. And, it's tough on this day after that was the final game ever for Gretna as a one high school town. But they definitely made some people proud, a lot of people proud, and hats off to Anthony Rizak and Caleb Benning and Tristan Alvano with 5 field goals. Incredible to go out and perform and hit that 45-yarder with the state championship on the line. So just a ton of great football, and, it's awesome to see in the state of Nebraska.
Mitch Sherman is with us, Hail Varsity Radio. Mitch, of course, with The Athletic at Mitch Sherman on Twitter. Let's talk about Flores and, just some of the football dads and just other high school parents. The common question today or last night, if you're getting text messages or you bump into somebody and you've seen it on social media, And it's not, how's Zane going to Okie State? It's, Okie State saw an incredible talent, but the refrain's been, how's this kid getting out of Nebraska? And it's not uncommon to have high-talent guys leave the state. It's more common the last 5 years. But, Mitch, reset the recruiting process on Zane, just from when he was a young pup at Gretna to just what he showed last night and kind of his process with where Okie State came in.
Well, he's a 4-year starter, and Gretna's a 5th-year Class A program. So he dragged these guys up from the bottom of the barrel at Class A as a good Class B program that had never won a state championship in Class B to the top of Class A, to a team that won the championship game, later to have it taken away because of an ineligible player a year ago at Memorial Stadium, to this dominant team that we saw last night. Gretna was undefeated going in, and Zane is largely the reason why that Gretna has lost up until yesterday 1 game in the past 2 seasons. So his recruiting was a little bit of a mystery. I think people who watched him regularly, myself included, felt like he was not just a Division I quarterback, but a Power 5 level quarterback from the time that he was maybe midway through his sophomore year. And at the end of his junior year, a year ago right now, we're the 1-year anniversary, I believe, today of the state championship last year, he did not have an offer. And, some of that was because of the COVID year where in 2020, where recruiting slowed down and coaches didn't get on the road and players didn't come in on visits. That was his sophomore season. So I think things were delayed a bit on that. They didn't have the showcases in the summer as readily available after his sophomore year. But, it took off in February, and Bowling Green was the first to offer, and then Kansas State offered, and soon he had offers from every Power 5 conference. And Oklahoma State was the one that resonated most with him. And, it's of course, the hot topic here in Lincoln and Omaha that he didn't get an offer from Nebraska, and that's a mistake that Nebraska made. I think it's fairly clear at this point, but Nebraska had a new offensive coordinator and a head coach who wasn't buying into Zane, and they picked a guy that Mark Whipple was familiar with in Massachusetts. And nothing against Will Watson. He may go and be a great quarterback somewhere. It may not be in Nebraska because Mark Whipple's, in all likelihood, has 1 game left on the Nebraska sideline, or in the booth as it is with Whipple right now because of the injured leg. But likely they're going to strike out on both of them, and we don't know that. I hope Will Watson comes here, but the reason he's committed is because of Mark Whipple. So there's going to be some interesting times ahead with that quarterback picture for Nebraska and who its 2023 signee is. If there's a class of 2023 signee, it may be back to the portal for the new coach. But it's a shame that Zane Flores is not that guy who's going to be a freshman at Nebraska next year. But also good for him that he's done what he's done, and that he's going to Oklahoma State in a very stable program that Mike Gundy runs.
You mentioned it, stable program. Nebraska has not been stable with record or coaching change. That said, did Zane grow up a Nebraska fan? There's a lot of kids that they'll go, but they're not like you and I grew up, Mitch, going and seeing Nebraska at their peak.
I think that's safe to say. I haven't talked to Zane specifically about who he cheered for as a kid, but he was looking for a Nebraska offer. When I've talked to him and we've talked about Nebraska, it's just been about the fact that he wasn't hearing from them. And this was last winter. And, once Zane committed to Oklahoma State, I wasn't, and I didn't talk to him a few times at a camp this summer. I wasn't asking him about Nebraska. They were out of the picture at that point. But yeah, I mean, he grew up here and has an older brother who played small college ball in Iowa, and his dad, I believe, played at UNO. So they're a Nebraska family for sure, and that offer would have meant a lot to them.
Mitch Sherman's with us here on Hail Varsity Radio. And Mitch, I want to talk about the hero from last night, Tristan Alvano. You briefly mentioned him off the top, but does he not just feel like the next in a long line of great kickers to come from the state of Nebraska?
Yeah, he does, and he looks like a great college kicker. He didn't look like a great high school kicker out there last night. He looked like a great college kicker. I mean, splitting the uprights, kicking a 50-yarder, and a couple from beyond 40, and the clutch kick at the end. Yeah, that was like Justin Tucker kind of stuff that Tristan Alvano was doing.
Well, did you ever think he was going to miss the game winner? Whenever he walked up there, it just felt like it was done and dusted. It felt like he was going to knock that thing through.
No. And I know the Gretna people were wishing that like some kind of a cold front or 40-mile-an-hour wind would have burst through the stadium right as the Westside lined up for that game winner, but that was not to be. And it's like a chip shot for him. So it seemed. In that situation, he was money. He had ice in his veins, and he was amazing and deserved the offer, the full ride offer that he got from Nebraska this morning with Mickey Joseph reaching out.
Mitch, couple of minutes here before we say goodbye. A thought on Nebraska-Iowa as Nebraska heads into Black Friday, trying to snap a losing streak.
Yeah, Nebraska's playing Friday. Forget that sometimes. Game 12. Nebraska's 3-8. It's time to shut this thing down. The players obviously are not looking at it that way, and they've got a lot of pride, and they want to spoil things for Iowa, and that's what they are right now. Nebraska's been reduced to be a spoiler and to keep Iowa out of the Big Ten championship game against the Michigan Ohio State winner. So it's there are a lot of individual guys, and we heard from some of them today at the press conference, who are admirable and are good leaders and have dealt with a lot of junk through this season, and in some cases through their entire careers. Guys who have been at Nebraska for a long time. We heard from Caleb Tanner today, and he's going to set a record for a number of games played in by a Nebraska player. And you heard from Casey Thompson, who has been through the grind this season in his 1 year at Nebraska. Probably feels like a career, but they've really kept a good attitude outwardly, and I think inwardly too, and have kept this team from splintering. So good for them, and I think they'll represent well again on Friday in Iowa City. But this season is about over. And it's mercifully about over for Nebraska, because finally, after 11 weeks, we're going to get some answers when this season is over about who the next coach is, and Nebraska desperately needs to move forward with that guy.
Mitch, we're short on time here. We have to get to your thoughts on some Thanksgiving food items, but quickly
ask him about coaches.
we could do that too, but I want to first ask: are you liking the under for Friday?
What's the number?
It's in the 30s. Last I checked. I'll pull it up and get you the most up to date.
Yeah, I mean,
here.
Last week
it's at 38.5.
Oh yeah, last week I noted that anybody who was playing in the Big Ten West or in the Big 12 North, north of the Nebraska-Kansas border, those games were going under. And I think between Minnesota, Iowa, Nebraska, Wisconsin, Iowa State, Texas Tech. It was a clean sweep. So usually I don't think it's a good idea to listen to me on that kind of stuff, but I hope some people did when I tweeted that about the under number at around kickoff on Saturday. I that was a weather thing for sure, and it was cold and in some places snowing, and that doesn't appear to be the case this Saturday. So I don't think it's going to be like an across the board kind of day where every game is going to be low scoring in this part of the country, but Nebraska-Iowa, has that feel to it. I think Nebraska's going to struggle to score against that Iowa defense. Everybody except Ohio State struggles to score against that Iowa defense. And the only kind of fly in the ointment on that one is probably the Iowa defense again itself, and they can put up points. Jack Campbell is a threat as much or more than anybody on the Iowa offense to score a touchdown when he's out there on defense. So if Iowa starts piling up defensive touchdowns or special teams big plays, then they may get to that 38.5.
Mitch, I need 2 minutes on the other side. Can I borrow you?
Yeah, you bet. Sure.
All right, there is Mitch Sherman. More to come on Hail Varsity.
Chime in 402-466-ESPN or email the show, Chris@HailVarsity.com.
Just try me.
Back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Back with you at Hail Varsity Radio, and Mitch Sherman still with us here on a Tuesday. And He's always put on the spot from time to time. Hey, can we get 2 more minutes? He's too kind to say, no, I've given you 10 minutes of my life I'll never get back. So, Mitch, thanks for hanging in. 2 wild card names I want to throw out, get your reaction. And, you can ask me if I need to be drug tested or not, but Luke Fickell or Kalen DeBoer, what do those 2 names do for you in reference to Nebraska?
Well, I have the different reactions to those 2 names. I don't put them in the same basket. Kalen DeBoer, forget it. He's not coming, not interested. I know he's from this part of the country, doesn't want the job. I don't know how I can be any more clear. That's from a person who's close to him, who was in Seattle with him on Saturday to watch the Huskies play Colorado. He was not on a plane to Lincoln. He's not interested in the job. They're not talking to him. He doesn't want it. Okay.
That's what they all say.
Well, I'm gonna
when they bring him out for the press conference, and
we will lose this part of the tape.
That's right. That's going to be on Old Takes Exposed right there. Fickell, I think I'm mildly interested. I think there's a little bit of something there. He's playing Friday. Not that matters to the search or to his desirability, his attractiveness to Nebraska, but he would be available on Saturday if there's going to be an announcement Saturday. Just so if you hear about an announcement coming Saturday, he's one of the guys that would still be in play, along with somebody like Matt Rule, who doesn't have a job right now. It would take people out of play like Chris Kleiman and Lance Leipold, who are coaching against each other on Saturday. But I don't think so, but I do think that it's interesting. The thought for a long time with Luke Fickell, and it still is that he's holding out for the Ohio State job. And if Ryan Day goes to the NFL, then Luke Fickell can jump right back into Columbus, and it'll be seamless. He's already in that state. That's where he wants to be. That's where he wants to coach, and that wouldn't change if he went somewhere like Nebraska. He'd still be next in line or close to it at Ohio State as long as things were going well at his current stop, which is why I think he's unlikely to make that kind of a move, because he's got a good thing going at Cincinnati. And going into the Big 12, they should still be a good program. I don't know that they're going to be a college football playoff program like he had with them last year, and maybe there's some concern there about Cincinnati's ability to compete as it goes up a conference. But there's concern about Nebraska's ability to compete in the Big Ten, as we've seen for the last 6 years, or you could say the entire time that the Huskers have been in the Big Ten. I'm not throwing that out.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a long shot, but I will throw out Kalen. I will toss Kalen DeBoer out as a possibility.
Mitch, what's your read from behind the scenes? Do you think this is a done deal or close to being finalized and just waiting to be announced? Do you think there's still moving parts going on behind the scene? I know that's a loaded question, but it just feels like some of those rumor mill type things, flight tracker guys on Twitter have started to quiet down over the past couple days. Do you think that's because they're in wait-and-see mode, or do you think there's something that might be done behind the scenes and now we're just waiting for an announcement?
Well, I don't think the flight tracker guys and the rumor mill guys on Twitter know what's going on. I think
that's a great point.
there are a select few number of people who know what's going on, and that group has gotten more quiet over the last few days too. And I'm not sure how to interpret it. I don't think it's entirely done. I guess I'm going to kind of answer that both ways and say that I think there are still some moving parts, and I also think it's just about done. So something could fall through or fall apart at the 11th hour, and I think Trev Alberts is prepared for that. So that's why there's still moving parts. So he's got options, but I do think that he's closer now than he has been at any point in the last 72 days to having his man. Can't say that for certain. That's more just kind of reading the tea leaves and getting a sense from how I feel about the way that the level of noise has been from the people who are actually in the know. But it has gotten quieter. I will definitely agree with you there on that one, Elijah.
Mitch, what are you punting from Thanksgiving Day dinner?
Ooh, you're making me kick something off.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking about this during the commercial, and I wanted to say that I just eat what's put in front of me because I'm lucky enough to have usually have people cook it for me while I sit back and watch football.
Same.
So I eat it all. I'm not like a big fan of like if there's vegetables that show up on my plate. Not really. I mean, sweet potatoes, that's good.
Yeah,
that's good.
Rock.
I kind of like it all. I mean, turkey and gravy and stuffing and cranberries, just give it to me all, and I'll just like mush it all together on my plate and eat it. So that's appetizing, I'm sure. But I don't know what I'm kicking off my plate. Probably like if somehow some broccoli or something got on there. That's not really a Thanksgiving food. So I might take my roll and throw it across the room just because it doesn't do anything for me. I don't need that taking up space.
You gotta get the King's Hawaiian, then you dip it in the gravy.
They're good. I know it's good, but it's just taking up unnecessary space.
Okay, fair.
Need a bread plate. Mitch, enjoy your Thanksgiving, bud. We'll see you in Iowa City.
Thanks. You guys too.
All right, there he is, Mitch Sherman. Nice of him. He is. That is your definitive. Do not go to Washington looking for a yes. Emphatic. Mm-hmm. Mitch sounded annoyed we brought his name up, which is all good.
I don't know. We got a few listeners that have been on the Kellen DeBoer train. So sorry to burst your bubble with that.
I think Kellen DeBoer is an incredible coach.
I agree,
but the buyout's nuts. But he's happy. He just got there. He just got again released from Fresno State. Not penitentiary, but it probably felt like it. Up there.
That's good. I like that one. That was fun.
What does Matt Rule have to say about his coaching future? Do we have a little bit of the sleeveless wonder?
Yeah, of course.
All right, a little bit from Rule here about his future.
It's been 6 weeks, since I blew a whistle. It's been 6 weeks since I had that whistle, and you only have that whistle at practice. Obviously you don't have a whistle during the games. And so as I sit here now, I miss that whistle. I miss being at practice. I miss being with the guys. I miss seeing something done wrong and like, hey, hold on, let's stop it. Let's do it again. I miss teaching. John Wooden had an impact on me at an early age, just read him. And then I was at UCLA and had a chance to meet him. And, he always referred to coaching as teaching. And I miss teaching the game. I miss being around the guys. I miss being in the locker room. I have this great picture that's in my office. It's me and Cam Irving hugging after we beat the Saints this year. I mean, I miss that. I miss those relationships. And so I don't know how long I'll be able to be away from football because, I miss that. I love my family. They're my team right now, and they'll always be my team. But I also miss having that whistle. I also miss being on the practice field. I miss coaching. And so, I hope and pray that the time comes where I have a chance to do that again. I would give anything right now to be on a sideline today. I would give anything to be out there on a practice field today. So lean into it, man. Enjoy it. Enjoy coaching today because, like me, you never know when it could be taken away. So I look back at Carolina fondly and very gratefully because I had a chance to coach. I look ahead excitedly. But in this moment right now, man, I miss taking that whistle and going out to practice and coaching the guys. And so
there's a lot of programs that would give you a lot to come have a whistle. One more time. Hail Varsity winds down hour one next.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Big thanks to Mitch Sherman. Hail Varsity Radio Tuesday edition. We're presented by Currency. For all your equipment financing needs, go Currency. Get the podcast downloaded, different ways to do it. The full show, Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, and always subscribe to the Hail Varsity YouTube channel. You can see and watch the full show there. Also, different segments you want, whether it's Coach McBride or Mitch Sherman, Bill Dolman, whoever you like, that's isolated for you as well to download Spotify, iTunes, Google Play with Hail Varsity Radio. Be sure to check out all of the Hurrdat family podcasts. What a great lineup, man. Just incredible talent with Hurrdat and podcasts you'll be sure to love. Brandon Vogel, of course, I-80 Preview, Jacob Padilla, Damon Benning, of course, is as good as it gets. Aaron Sorensen, fantastic. And, just the talent you got in the rooms, big time. You want to watch talent? You want to cross seeing something live off your bucket list? How about Red Zone tickets selling fun since 2001? And maybe you're trying to get rid of some seats. Red Zone tickets can help you with that as well, be it NFL or volleyball for the Huskers, some NFL action, theater, College World Series. concert seats. Man, there's some great events coming to CHI. Red Zone tickets can take care of you. They are Omaha proud. They are local. They've earned that A+ Better Business Bureau rating. 100% guarantee on all your orders, and you'll receive authentic tickets and experiences you'll never forget. Again, bucket list items. Going to an event is so much fun. You'll never forget, and a memory that does last a lifetime. Visit redzonetickets.com today. redzonetickets.com. So we have some input here from Brennan. DeBoer at Washington just got a 4-star quarterback commit out of South Dakota, Pierre, South Dakota. Been through Pierre a few times. And for that to happen, that's DeBoer's backyard. That's where he grew up, in the Black Hills State. So,
but it should be noted, this 4-star quarterback, his name, Lincoln.
Yes.
Lincoln Kienholz. Good name. Read into that what you will. Just got a quarterback commit named Lincoln, but he says he's not coming to Lincoln. You sure about that?
Mitch has got his people everywhere, and I loved his answer on Fickle though, with that name kind of out of left field. But if I'm a betting man, and we'll burn this tape if we're way off, but I'm betting somewhere from the Sunflower State, either Leipold or Kleiman.
That's where your money is?
Mm-hmm.
Are
you going outside the box higher?
I am not going to put my money where my mouth is, but I still think it's some sort of left field name that we haven't been talking about enough. It's probably a name we've mentioned, but I think it's one of those...
Bronco S. Blanco?
Well, I just think it's one of those names that Trev Alberts has had on his list for a couple months now and has always kind of had this plan. And I don't think the results of what people have done this season have mattered to Trev. That's what I'll say. I don't think that Matt Campbell having a poor season at Iowa State.
It's an eye test over your body of work.
Yes, I don't think that Trev Alberts is going to say, well, I liked Matt Campbell until his season was bad. And that's why Matt Campbell is kind of faded from our talking point.
I liked Matt Campbell until he didn't have an offense. But, man, his defense played well, and they were in a lot of one-point games. Traditionally, they flip that around and win close ball games.
So what I'm saying is I don't think Trev was looking at this season. I think it's going to be one of those names that we're not talking about because, well, they had a great year this year. I don't think it's going to be one of those names.
Well, Andy Markowski, we'll get into some Husker and Creighton hoops. Jacob Padilla and Quinton Newsome next hour.
Welcome to Hail Varsity Radio, the voice of Husker Nation. Insight, opinion, expertise, with the biggest and best names talking Nebraska across the state. Join the show on Twitter at Hail Varsity and at Schmidt_radio. Call in at 402-466-ESPN or 1-800-825-5865. Here's Chris Schmidt.
Back into it, it's Hour 2. It's Hail Varsity Radio, presented by Currency. For all your equipment financing needs, go Currency. Some basketball thoughts before we get back to Nebraska and Iowa. We welcome in standout Husker Hall of Famer, the pride of Ord, Andy Markowski, back with us. Talk some Husker hoops. Get his thoughts on Creighton as well, at Markowski_Andy, where you find him on Twitter. Andy, do you got the turkey all purchased? Do you go ham? You go green bean casserole? What's the repertoire for Thursday?
Well, I a little turkey, but a little prime rib as well. So try to do it right. And no, it doesn't feel like Thanksgiving as we're looking at a 64-degree day here, but we'll take it. I'm excited for the weekend.
You are right. Do you share the prime rib?
Yeah, I do. I tend to buy too much, which is always a good problem. So leftovers is good on Saturday and Sunday as well. So.
Good work. I like the prime rib v. turkey discussion.
If the leftovers are more than you can handle, feel free to drop them by my place. I got more than enough room in my fridge.
Elijah's no longer a poor college student, but he's a young man that is always all good about any sort of
free food.
Free food. That's. We'll just cut to it. Free food.
Yep.
But Nebraska gets going Thursday. They take on Oklahoma. Want to start there, and Nebraska showed some poise and a good bounce back against Pine Bluff. Their last outing, a tough one, tough to watch, tough to to deal with against St. John's. But your assessment right now, Nebraska's gotten off to a better start than in past years. What do you think of the roster? What do you think of this crew so far?
Yes, certainly it's different than last year's group. I think it's a team that, the pieces fit. I think they're playing together. I think their shot selection's better. I think they're a little, positionally they're longer than they were a year ago. So, I think they're rebounding better. Unfortunately, I think their schedule is really challenging in the non-conference. And last year, they had some tough games, but I thought there was some winnable teams, last year on their schedule. So I think this group, has a chance. I think their margin's small, but I think Vanderbilt and Greasel gives you a chance at the 1 and the 2. Certainly Gary has shown signs, and not having Walker for the first part of the season has really hurt them. Blaise Keita is certainly able to play, and the physicality will help them in the Big Ten. But Walker gives them so much more versatility. Offensively, he's a pressure release for them in the half court. They can run a lot of cutting and splitting in behind him. So, not having him in the St. John's game, you think pressure, you need guards, but really they needed some pressure release in the half court, and Walker would have really helped them in that game. So, I do think they'll have him back. It's not announced, but I think he's looking at a couple more games being out, and then, potentially could play the last game in Orlando. So, you had him in the mix, and, I think they have a chance. They're not going to win the league, but I think it's a team that you're going to like watching, and a team that's going to get better as the season plays on.
Andy, tell me a little bit about the impact of Sam Greasel in this team. He's been a different style of point guard than what we've seen in the past couple years, from Cam Mack to Alonzo Verge. Greasel's a different style of guy, a guy who's willing to post up and be a change of pace. Always got his eyes across the floor. Has been dishing out some nice passes. He had a couple great passes to Blaise in that game on Sunday. And I want to get your take just on what his impact within this team has been with his style of play.
Yeah, I certainly think he's been a great addition. Last year's point guard was kind of a shoot first. Verge was kind of finally out of position, really playing the point. Sam has developed himself into a really good point guard. He's able to, come off a lot of the ball screens and has great vision at 6'7", very willing passer. Hoiberg is so creative offensively. I think if you look at the second half of the Pine Bluff game the other night, they had a great mismatch and ended up putting him in the post in the second half and really getting them going offensively. So I think they can use him, in some different ways. The St. John's game, was probably the worst ball handling I've seen Sam have. I mean, he normally doesn't turn the basketball over, but the pressure in that game was probably more than he has seen. So he'll adjust to that as well. But, he's a leader. He's a Lincoln kid. He wants to be at Nebraska. He wants to wear a Husker uniform. He talks about all of that, which, I think is great. And the more of those kids you can have in the program, I think makes for the fans to want to come and watch them. And I think it makes him play harder to represent Nebraska and the state. And, being a Lincoln kid, it means a lot to him.
Andy Markowski with us here, Hail Varsity Radio. Andy, you look at some of the first 4 ball games with Greasel and then Wiltshire leading the team in scoring. Tominaga led the way against St. John's, and then Gary had a fantastic game. He was able to lead the way. Do you like the versatility, and more so, is that portable? Do you think Nebraska can have different variations of a leading score and be successful?
Yeah, I do. I don't think they're real deep, Chris. I think they have 7 when they get Walker back. I think they have 7 that can play in the Big Ten, but they can play different ways. I mean, Wilhelm can play the 4 at 6'11" alongside Walker. I mean, you could go small, you could go athletic with Gary, at the 4. You can move Gary up to the 3 and go big with. So I do think they have some versatility. Wiltshire and Tominaga, I think they're benefiting from having a pass first point guard, and Vanderbilt is very unselfish as well. So I think they're playing. Their shots are more comfortable. They know they're getting shots. Where last year I think they took some bad shots because they didn't know if the ball was going to come back to them with Verge and McGowan. So I think they're more comfortable. Their shooting percentages are up. So I do think this team has a chance to be versatile, and that can travel. However, I think this week weekend is tough. They got potentially Memphis in the second round. They still have Creighton coming up. They they get Indiana, Purdue the first round of the Big Ten. So I do think they're better. They're more fun to watch. But wins, their margin's pretty small. They're going to have to make some winning plays, and they've shown some resiliency of playing a really good half at St. John's, and then really their backs are against the ropes against Pine Bluff. Not that Pine Bluff is a great team, but in years past those teams have come back to beat us. We haven't had the toughness and the steadiness to survive a challenge from a team. So so far this team is making enough plays to win games, and that's what basketball is about.
Andy, quickly tell me about this weekend. Oklahoma is coming up on Thursday. It's down in Orlando, the ESPN Events Invitational. Then either Memphis or Seton Hall on Friday, depending on what the Huskers do on Thursday. We'll see what happens later in the weekend. But what do you want to see from this Husker basketball team this weekend? I know you said the margins are pretty thin for wins and losses, but what do you want to see from the team this weekend, and what do you consider a successful weekend for this team?
Yeah, Oklahoma is a winnable game. I mean, Porter Mosier is in his second year. I don't know their roster very well. A typical second year, I think he turned over a lot of players with the transfer portal. It's a good matchup for us. They have really struggled scoring so far this season. I think they're averaging in the mid-60s, and offensively, we're very capable of scoring 70, 72, 74. So I do think that first-round game is a good matchup for us. Traditional Christmas or Thanksgiving weekend, right? Nebraska, Oklahoma on the TV. So that'll be fun to watch that. And then, Seton Hall went through a coaching change as well, and Memphis is very talented. So you take your chances against either of those. But the goal would be to go 2-1. I mean, if you're making progress as a program. Anytime you do these three-game tournaments, I mean, you want to get out of there with a winning record. So, if you win the first one, lose the second one, you'd play for third or fourth against a team that is probably your level. So I think 2-1 is respectable, and this team should be asking themselves how do you win in the non-conference and try to go 500 in the league. I don't think that's asking too much for a Nebraska program to have those expectations.
Eddie Markowski is with us at Hail Varsity Radio. College basketball on our mind. Creighton, an impressive win against Texas Tech. And Creighton's been a team that's been uber athletic over the years, but Tech is very physical. I know the blueprint is still down there in Lubbock from what's been successful, and Creighton found a way to win a physical ball game. Last night, Arkansas tonight, Texas looms, and then Nebraska. But is Creighton, to your eyes, as good as advertised? There's a lot of hype around them this year, and I know they got some dudes. But do you think right now they are living up to the billing early on?
Yeah, I watched that game yesterday, and I do, Chris. I think they're have as much talent as probably anybody in the country in terms of guards, shooters, size, athleticism. Maybe they have too many, right? Sometimes that can work against you, but Texas Tech is a hard team to play against, and McDermott ended up playing kind of 2-point guards and took advantage of some of the switching in the second half. And he's such a creative offensive coach, and you give him that many tools and versatility, they're going to be, extremely hard to play against. And, a team that, I think as you're looking in March, they're certainly a second weekend team, to go beyond that, you got to get a little lucky, stay healthy, all that. But to my eye, I think they'll handle Arkansas tonight. Arkansas is pretty young, lost a lot of guys off that roster. And then, like you said, they'll have a chance to play for a Maui championship, which is, pretty impressive tournament to have a chance to win.
Let's talk about Shireman, his size and what he can do as a ball handler with their tempo. And is he just a perfect piece for this team?
Yeah, he's a complimentary piece. I think there's been times that I've watched them. I'm trying to think of a couple other non-conference games at home. I watched them, and he's not going to get 14 or 15 shots. I think coming from South Dakota State, he was a volume shooter. where he kind of had the green light. I mean, there's games I think he's missed 3 or 4 or 5 in a row where he's going to have to pick his spots. But, extremely talented. You play him with Nimehard, and, those are 2 really good guards that are very different, right? One's a little downhill fast, and Sherman's, crafty with the basketball, can shoot with range. But, yeah, he was a great addition to, an already pretty talented team. And, like I said, it pains me to say it, right? I mean, I'd love to see Nebraska have a chance to beat Creighton, but I think this is the best team McDermott has had there.
Andy, quickly before we get you out here, a couple minutes left, let's go to your daughter and the women's basketball team. They had a tough stretch of road games over the past week as they dropped a couple, but they have a great chance at a get-right game tonight. Tell me a little about that team, the growing process throughout the season, and what you've seen from them.
Yeah, certainly not the start they wanted. I think there's some reasons for that and some optimism moving forward that they can get some things corrected. Losing at Creighton and Drake, both of those teams are really talented, and tough matchups for how we're built to play in the Big Ten with some frontline size. But Sam Hybe being out has really impacted this team maybe more than what people would think. She was their best on-ball defender. She's probably their best true point guard, getting downhill, getting teammate shots. So without her, they've tried to maybe play some other guards, maybe out of position, a touch, which I think has impacted our offensive rhythm. But Sam's gonna play tonight, and I think as the week progresses, they go to Puerto Rico on Friday and play a game, and then have Mississippi State Saturday. So getting Sam back is really probably the piece that's going to get them more comfortable offensively, help their athleticism on the perimeter defensively. So I do think they can, get a win tonight and then hopefully go to Puerto Rico and get 2, and then they set up for a top 10 matchup against Virginia Tech in the ACC Big Ten Challenge. But don't hit the panic button yet. I think this team is, they've even though they had a lot back, they have a lot of new pieces playing in some different positions. So, I think they'll get things figured out and, have a chance to be right in the thick of things once the Big Ten gets there.
Andy, how's Pius looking this year, bud?
Yeah, we got a lot of players back from 21 season last year, and we first weekend, so how that first week goes. You'll throw a lot at them, and they've responded well. And I think most of high school basketball play a jamboree game this Friday and Saturday, so super excited to see high school season kick off.
Eddie Markowski with us, Husker standout, and giving us the insight on Husker basketball and the women's game tonight.
And the spread for Thanksgiving dinner. Don't forget about that.
We got the prime rib and the turkey at the Markowski household. Eddie, best to you and your fam. Have a great turkey day, and thanks for a few minutes today.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving to you guys. Take care.
Good stuff from Eddie Markowski. We'll talk some more hoops and football with Jacob Padilla next, and then Quinton Newsome will join us. Big Game Boomer put out the most popular Thanksgiving food for every college football fan base. Not shocking, corn comes in for Nebraska. Canned cranberry sauce for Alabama. Gluten-free rolls for all those Colorado fans. Pecan pie for Georgia fans. Garlic cream cheese corn for Kansas fans. Wheat rolls for K-State. A lot of gravy for Mississippi State fans. Cajun fried turkey for LSU fans. Oven-baked squirrel for the win in West Virginia. Jacob Padilla is next at Hail Varsity, presented by Currency.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Back to you. It's Hail Varsity Radio, presented by Currency. Quinton Newsome in about 15 minutes. Breaking news on Lane Kiffin. This from a reputable source, Christopher Gabriel out of ESPN Fresno. Lane Kiffin plans to step down as the Rebels coach today. Head to London to become the King of England after King Charles abruptly abdicated his throne to take over the job at Auburn.
Both sides deny reports. Story to come.
Yeah, stories on the way. Jacob Padilla with us, as he's done a great job all year covering prep sports and, of course, Nebraska basketball, Nebraska volleyball. And on the prep beat tonight with Class B final getting going a little bit after 7. Jacob, let's talk Class A, Gretna Westside. We touched on it with Mitch a little bit earlier. You follow these programs in a lot of the Metro all season long. And your takeaway, what a shootout, what a finish.
Yeah, I think my main takeaway is just how much talent there was on that field. Just so many game-breaking plays, big swings. It was offense, defense, special teams. There are just so many big-time players on that field, and it was so much fun to watch. That's the kind of finale that I think this season deserved for a Class A season that it looked like there was going to be 4, 5, 6 maybe teams that would be in the mix at the end, but ultimately it had to be those two, and they put on a show for the ages.
What a show it was, and to bring it back home to local recruiting. And is this as good as you've seen the in-state talent be for Nebraska?
I think so. I mean, the offers themselves, like just the sheer number of Power 5 offers, I think would indicate that. In terms of the depth, I guess we'll see in the top end and how some of these guys stack up to some of the best players that have come through the state. But in terms of just the sheer number of players that all have a chance to play at the next level, at the highest level in college, we're up to double digits, I think, for guys with offers. Many of them have already committed. A few of them still hanging out there. You look at the underclassmen, obviously, Westside, a lot of their best players are going to be back next year. They were juniors and sophomores with Caleb Benning, who was probably the story of that game outside of Tristan Alvano. And Christian Jones, who had a really good game defensively for Westside, just a sophomore. Anthony Rizak, obviously at quarterback, with Flores moving on, and some of the other senior quarterbacks. He'll be one of the best in the state next year. So, I mean, the talent right now is just ridiculous and a lot of fun to watch.
Jacob, with the benefit of hindsight, how do you rate Scott Frost's in-state recruiting efforts during his time as head coach? Because you can go back, it's a little bit loaded because you go back early in his tenure and he got some dudes from Nick Henrich to Garrett Nelson. He kept some in-state talent around, but then within the past 2 years, he started losing some of that top end of the in-state talent to out-of-state schools. So with the benefit of hindsight now, what we know about some of these guys, how do you rate his in-state recruiting efforts?
I think they did a good job of kind of capitalizing on the excitement of Frost taking over and who he was and just everything that went along with that to have that early success. And you had some Lincoln kids in there, you had some out-state kids in the mix as well, and then you did get those guys out of Omaha, which as we've seen recently has not been as easily for them for the program down in Lincoln. So in the last few years, I just don't know that they kept up the effort. They kept up the proper evaluation, the relationship building with the coaches, with the people around the sport that know who the best players are and who is coming up the ranks and all those type of things. So they just weren't able to sustain that initial wave of excitement that I think led to some early success. And I mean, the less success you have on the field, the less you have to sell, whether it's to in-state recruits or not. It just gets harder and harder to recruit. The less amount of success, the fewer wins you have each year. So it definitely wasn't good enough. There's some major misses. Obviously, I think Zane Flores is the one that everybody's talking about, but there have been some offers that have gone out since Frost has been fired to where members of the staff are like, why did this kid not have an offer previously, or how long why did it take this long? And even a guy like Tristan Alvano got that PWO offer bumped up to a scholarship offer after just fantastic performance in the state title game. So you're definitely seeing, since Mickey Joseph has taken over, like more of an honest effort put into local recruiting, and hopefully for Nebraska that'll pay off for whoever's and carry over to whoever ends up taking over the program here, which we should know hopefully soon.
That's where I'm going next, Jacob. Is there a name you like, you think's a fit?
Not really. I've never really had someone in this. I just haven't gotten too into the weeds with it because like every name that I've heard throughout, there are a few that right away just like not really interested in that. But I mean, most of the names in the conversations, like I can make an argument for why it would work. I can make an argument like this has me worried. But ultimately, they just need to go hire a good coach that knows how to develop, that knows how to do things the right way, and then we'll see what happens once you can get this program stabilized. Well, that's what they need, someone that can stabilize it.
On the flip side, Jacob, have you heard any names out there that have just been rumored and floated around that just make you go, no, that's not a fit, that's not going to happen?
Well, Urban Meyer, that obviously that one early on was the big one.
Well, it's gained steam again within the past week.
Yeah, at this point, I don't think anybody knows anything, and if any real information out there seems to be shrouded by misinformation around that, just with the sheer amount of talk about this situation. So I don't think we'd be able to identify what is real and what isn't, even if there is something real out there at this point. So I'm just kind of ready for it to be this time next week, and hopefully we'll know what the decision is.
You and me both.
Jacob, let's talk Husker basketball. Big one against Oklahoma, maybe Memphis as well, and then Creighton looms. Initial take on Fred in this early part of the year.
Yeah, they failed their first test against another high major with that St. John's game last week. Obviously the first half wasn't pretty, but they hung in there. You kind of saw some of the things that they talked about in the offseason that they were trying to build the team around, and then the second half happened, and all the good things went away, and all the problems you thought this team might have reared their heads all at once, and they just didn't have an answer. So the question now is how much of that is what we're going to see against the best teams moving forward, and how much of that can they improve? Obviously, a return for Derek Walker would change things dramatically. It's not like he's a 20-10 All-American type, but just for what he means to this team. And Fred talked about it again today a little bit. Just he is that kind of pressure release, that outlet for their ball handlers, because they do lack ball handling. You saw that at St. John's game. Sam Garissa was the only guy that that could put any kind of pressure at all, that could handle the ball against the defense. And anytime he tried to do it, like they swarmed him, and there was a lot of turnovers. And anytime he gave it up, they weren't able to really get it back to him in positions to be a stressor for the defense. So they got to figure that out, particularly while Walker remains out. And Oklahoma will be the next chance to kind of show that against another high major team that they've struggled so far this year. They're 3-1. They lost a game they probably shouldn't have. They barely got by Pine Bluff. That was a close game, I believe. So it's another team that's kind of struggling. They've got a few names that, Grant Shorfield, their point guard, Nebraska lost to him with Nevada a couple of years ago. So that'll be a familiar face. And then Tanner Groves, Eastern Kentucky or Washington transfer that joined them last year. So those will be the main guys that Nebraska's going to have to find a way to slow down and deal with. But I think it's a good kind of litmus test for both of these teams who both struggled. They both got some interesting players, but they got to see if we can put it together and get a win.
Jacob Padilla is with us here on Hail Varsity Radio. And Jacob, there's obviously still some issues within this team. I think that was evidenced by that St. John's game. But what issues have you seen Fred Hoiberg clean up? I know the ones that stand out to me right off the bat, rebounding and defense both look better. Not perfect, but look better than they have in years past. What have you seen in terms of things that Fred Hoiberg has taken notes on in years past and gone out and fixed this year?
Yeah, I think you hit on the main ones. The effort, the length, the physical ability on defense is better. They still lack lateral quickness, and I think that kind of pops up at times. We'll see how that holds up once you get into conference play against more dynamic guards. But they are rebounding the ball much better. They've been aggressive on the offensive glass, like Hoiberg said they'd be. That has been a weapon for the team, and I think they're trying to move the ball a little bit better. It doesn't stick quite as much. Part of that is just based on the personnel. You don't have a guy as dynamic with the ball in his hands as an Alonzo Verge or even Bryce McGowan. So you have to do it by team. And That's kind of what we've seen a little bit so far. Sam Griesel's a guy that will initiate, will try to make plays for others, and will kind of let the game come to him. He's not really going to try to force it too much, particularly early on in the game. He wants to give it up. He wants to get it back, try to get downhill, make a play for somebody else. So I think those are some of the areas where you're seeing them play a little bit better basketball, but they haven't been able to do that against high major. We saw kind of once St. John's picked up that pressure, everything kind of fell apart in that second half. So we got to see here if they're able to sustain the positive gains that they've made against more high major competition.
Jacob, about 90 seconds, bud. Creighton's Achilles heel this year will be what?
Health, I guess. We already saw Ryan Kalkbrenner. That's kind of what I worry about today going into that Arkansas game with Kalkbrenner rolling his ankle twice in that game yesterday. Sounds like he's going to give it a go, but how effective will he be? I think the three-point shooting was a question going into the year, but since a really bad first game, they shot 41% in all their games since. And you're getting makes from multiple guys all over the court. So I think, like it is with anybody, health. And then we'll see how they defend dynamic wings, like an Anthony Black 6'7" kind of combo guard that they'll see for Arkansas tonight. Because personnel-wise, I think that could be somewhere where teams can stress them a little bit just based on what they have.
Jacob, 15 seconds, Class B state title game tonight. What's your lean on paper? Who do you think has the advantage?
I'd probably go Bennington just because of their depth. Gross has a lot of guys that play both ways all game long, where Bennington doesn't. So I just feel like if it's a game into the fourth quarter, you could see that depth really kind of go give Bennington an advantage to really finish the game. But it should be a fun one with a lot of dynamic running on both sides with Nick Colbert and Jake Garcia.
Jacob Padilla, and follow him at Jacob Padilla _ read his recaps, HailVarsity.com. Jacob, have a great Thanksgiving, bud.
Yep, you guys too.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
A few minutes here, Hail Varsity Radio. Quinton Newsome with this corner for Nebraska. Quinton, what's the mindset heading into Iowa?
The mindset heading into Iowa is just clean up all the mistakes we had previously within the last couple of games, and just go out there and dominate and just play fast, fly around, and just do what we do and just fight.
How have you kind of assessed your play? What's the feedback you've gotten from coaches, Coach Fish and company with your performance this year? You're your own critic, I get that, but overall, what's the feedback been?
The feedback has been great from my coaches and my teammates, just knowing the role that I had to step into coming into the season, and just being able to, just lock down a side of the defense. I feel like, I really stepped up and just, playing my role, and it really helps out when I had the support of my teammates and my coaches, having faith in me.
Who provided some of that support? Who helped your confidence?
I would say Coach Fish, just majority of the coaches, and almost all my guys in the secondary, mainly my corners though, because we always with each other, just, we always support each other no matter what.
Tell me about that transition for you from a guy that played really good snaps a year ago to having to step into that role with some guys that are now playing on Sundays. Did you put extra pressure on yourself, or were you able to soak it in, take it in, and step in the right way?
I would say I just had to, soak it in, just step into it, just because I watched the older guys and how they moved, and just making sure that I set the tone for the younger guys, letting them know that some things are, okay, but there's certain stuff you're not allowed to do. And, whether that's on or off the field, just, being there for them, whether it's if they need something, whether it comes to football or something outside of football.
Quinton Newsome, a few minutes with us here, Hail Varsity Radio. Were you comfortable with that elder statesman role, that leadership role? Oh, yeah, I would say I was comfortable. It was something I had to, just kind of get used to, just having them 6-year guys around. It wasn't really something that I had to do vocally. It was just something, just lead by example. But, as the season has been going on, I really became a great vocal leader for this defense. How did guys respond to that?
Nothing bad. They just accepted it. They just because the level of respect, the guys have for me, and the respect is always mutual. Yeah.
Why do you think they have that? Is it from your performance? Is it pretty much a consistency? Why do guys accept your voice like they do?
I would say performance and just, the preparation that they see me doing. Even before the season started, when we were doing workouts during the summer, just going hard every day and just not letting up at all. So, those guys really saw me step into that role and they just supported me, and we haven't looked back since.
Playing opposite Hartzog, what do you think of the young pup?
Oh, that's I call him my grandbaby. That's man, it's just it's great seeing him go out here and ball. Just man, it just makes me real happy just being able to see him go out there and do his thing. And he's a freshman. Seeing him step into that. The stage wasn't too big for him. He just went out there and did what he knows, and he just plays fast and flies around and he makes plays. So I'm very proud of him.
Grandbaby, does he like that name?
He accepts it. He don't say too much about it. So yeah, I would say he likes it.
Defensively, you guys have made quite a jump this year. How's the morale been? Coach Mick says you guys are a family, so there's no finger pointing, but defense has been playing at a very high level. What have you seen from the offense that gives you some hope here to end the season?
I just see, them guys hungry. They hungry. They felt like they didn't do what they were supposed to do last week. Just, they hungry to get back on the field and execute. And just no matter what players called, they're ready to execute. They trying to compete, make plays on the ball, and just do their job.
What's the season been like for you?
I would say, it's been hard just because we haven't been getting the outcomes we've been wanting, but man, this team has so much potential. But I mean, we gotta make sure that everybody sees that. We gotta display the potential. We gotta come out with victories. So I mean, it's been a rough season, but the team stays together, so that's a good thing.
What's Iowa, Nebraska mean to you?
I'm not from here, but as soon as I got out here, I just felt the Iowa, Nebraska hate going on. So since my freshman year, it's really been like I don't like Iowa. So this is a big rivalry, and I'm glad to be a part of that and just come out here ready to play them boys.
What's unique about Iowa? What do you respect most about Iowa?
I would say just they got some dogs over there. Just guys who play hard and are disciplined and they do stuff right. They don't make a lot of mistakes. So I would say that's what I respect.
Quinton Newsome with us, Hail Varsity Radio, Nebraska-Iowa week. Thanksgiving question. You get to pick one or draft one item of Thanksgiving food. What are you picking?
Just one. For the meat, I would say ham. But if I had to pick a side, I would have to say mac and cheese.
Do you do mac and cheese?
Yeah, I do mac and cheese.
All right, well, tell me how you do your mac and cheese.
You saying do I make it?
Yeah, do you make it?
Nah. Nah, I don't make it. My mom be making it. It be real good.
All right, well, tell me what's so special about mom's.
Oh, man, it's just like, so it got like the perfect amount of cheese. And it's just like thick, and it's like when I mix it with my other food and stuff, it's just real good. I like her greens too, so
okay.
Yeah.
Is it a little crusty on top or no?
It's a little bit, but it's not like crunchy. You see what I'm saying? So it's like perfect.
Sure,
yeah.
Sure. Ham over turkey.
Ham over turkey, yeah. Ham over turkey.
But, okay. Have you had smoked turkey before?
I have. I like smoked turkey. Okay. I do like smoked turkey. Me and Braxton Clark was having this argument the other day, talking about turkey and ham. So,
you yay or nay on green bean casserole?
Nay. I'm not a casserole type of guy, so and I'm picky too, kinda. So like, it's a lot of stuff that I just won't eat.
Jell-O casserole, no?
No.
Pumpkin, pecan.
Nah.
You won't do the pumpkin or pecan
I
pie?
don't eat pumpkin or pecans.
So what's your pie?
My pie. See, I don't really eat pies like that. My grandma be making peach cobbler and stuff like that. See, like I'm a cobbler type of guy, or like, just like different type of cakes and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, have a good game Friday. Thanks for the time.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
Good Turkey Day talk there with Quinton Newsome and football too. His mom's mac and cheese, undefeated, we would put up against Elijah Herbel's mac and cheese.
Oh, it's probably better. That's okay.
We will say this, Kalen DeBoer, extension. Ralph Russo from the AP reporting it through 2028, and he got bumped from $3.1 to $5.5 million. New buyout, $12 million until 2025. So, what Mitch said stays.
Don't have to burn the tape.
Don't have to burn the tape. We'll wind down at Tuesday next.
Miss us?
Come here, brother. Give me a hug. Bring it in for the real thing.
We're on call for you. Catch the podcast at HailVarsity.com, the ESPN Lincoln app, or download them on iTunes.
Saddle up, partner.
Back to Hail Varsity Radio.
One final time, big thanks to Mitch Sherman, Jacob Padilla, Andy Markowski, Quinton Newsome. And tomorrow on the show, we'll spend time, Scott Docterman of The Athletic, to talk Nebraska-Iowa, Gary Barnett, a Wednesday appearance. Mike Babcock will join us. And tip of the cap to Ben Brahmer. Man, what a job by the tight end out of Pierce. 249 yards receiving, 3 touchdowns, the hat trick.
And yes, 249 yards receiving in a state title game is a record, at least among Class C1.
Yeah, and just phenomenal win by Pierce over Aurora. Aurora, a great football team as well, 42-14. Hail Varsity is presented by your friends at Currency. For all your equipment financing needs, go Currency. And a few last-minute stops, perhaps, to get things handled for your Turkey Day dinner on Thursday. Can send an email, numbers to get in as well at 466-3776, 800-825-5865, or the email chris@hailvarsity.com. Follow us on Twitter at Schmidt_radio, and for Elijah at Herbal Essence. Get buckled up. A reminder, hands on the wheel, eyes and mind straight ahead. The driver, one job, that's to drive. A message from the Nebraska Department of Highway Safety Office. Quick thought from Mickey Joseph on Nebraska's morale level. It's been pretty steadfast for every player we've talked to the last 6 weeks, and no change from Mickey from the mention.
We got one mission left, one game, and I expect and I know our boys will come out and give full effort this last game. A lot of pride. Last game playing with some of their brothers, so I expect them to come out and play tough and be resilient through the whole game.
Well, that's what you want. Have you gotten to upset whisper yet, or no?
No. Simply put, no. It comes down to what I said in the post-game show on Saturday. I know that the role of spoiler is something special and it does get you juiced up to go play, but the influence of playing for a potential berth in a conference title game outweighs the role of playing spoiler. And Iowa is a team that has gotten better and better through every single game as the year has gone on, particularly their offense. We made a lot of jokes about their offense about 6 weeks ago. Well, their offense, it's still not great, but I'd go as far as to say it's been better than what Nebraska had without Casey Thompson.
Sure. No, don't disagree at all.
So this isn't going to be a case of neither of these teams are going to be able to move the football. I think there's going to be some offense in this football game, actually, because with Casey being back, I know Iowa's defense is great, but I think there are some matchup problems Nebraska can exploit. It's not on the ground. Hate to break it to you, run the damn ball fan. And as for
no, you're going to chuck it around because your weather conditions, Black Friday, very, very appreciative, 45 to 50 degrees, but wind only going to be 5 to 10 miles per hour.
And as for Iowa's offense, they're going to wear on Nebraska's defense. That's what they've done for years. That's what they've kind of turned to, a lot more play action for Spencer Petras. They're going to wear on Nebraska's defense. Nebraska's defense is going to get tired as they have in every
Laporte
game this
is out,
year.
though.
So
that's good news.
The tight end, yeah.
Yeah, he's not available. Back tomorrow, loaded up before you hit the buffet table. And we'll talk to you at 4 tomorrow with Hail Varsity, presented by Currency.